On today's episode, we'll talk about working with the tough AD, Baywatch, Snowfall, the importance of reading the room, and of course, Steven Spielberg and his bear claw. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello, and welcome back to The Op, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm your host, Dave Comites, and thankfully I am again coming to you from the theater in Panavision, Hollywood, because it's better than the back of the craft service truck, which I haven't tried yet, but I don't think it's going to work well. I have a great operator, director, assistant person, Eric Dyson, here with me today. Eric and I have worked together a couple times and go back a little ways. A couple of Eric's credits, but not all of them by any means. As an operator, Hunters, Rebel, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. As an assistant, Snowfall, A Wrinkle in Time, Scorpion, Community, 24, Judging Amy. And as a director, he has made a couple of short films, but specifically a short film, Baby Steps, won 4 top awards at different festivals around the country and had 3 other nominations. He has just finished directing his first feature film, and just because I have to say it so that we talk about it, apparently the rumor on the street is he was actually an extra in 2 Michael Jackson videos, which I need to ask you about because it's changed my entire view of the Eric Dyson world. Eric, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Just looking at the list of guests you've had so far, it's like, I am not in the right room, but I'm happy to be here.
I think you're absolutely in the right room. Believe me, for what it's worth, you are sitting in the seat where a lot of people have sat. And by the way, I think at the point where we're recording this, I think the 5th podcast maybe comes out tomorrow. Actually, I'm sorry, like the 4th full podcast, and then were a couple bonuses. But I've recorded about 40 to 50 of them at this point, just because since we're, dead because of the strike, I'm like, hey, let me get all these people in here. And I will often sit in this seat looking at the person in that seat going, what am I doing in this room? So you're in very good company.
Okay, good.
So tell me your story. How'd you get here? And don't leave out Michael Jackson, because I absolutely want to hear that. And also, if there are any pictures of you at that point in your life, I think we're going to need those.
Yeah. Well, I'll start sort of like way far back, because I think like everything that has sort of gotten me to this seat right now is irrelevant. And I think a big part of what people who are new in this business miss is really understanding what part their upbringing, their family history, how all that works into film and television, telling a story, how you read a script, and how you frame a shot, ultimately. So going way back, at one point, my father's family migrated from, like many others, Jim Crow South to the Midwest.
Where Jim Crow South?
Georgia, Florida,
okay.
Right? So my grandfather died when my father was very young, so I never knew him. So all of the, the pieces I put together through other family members, through genealogy, blah, blah, blah. So they ended up in the Midwest, in Ohio, and then at some point, my grandfather and his brother left Ohio, bought some dirt in San Diego, with their hands built a small house and a small back house that my 96-year-old aunt still lives in today.
Wow.
So the idea of we have nothing, we have to make something, and we're the ones who are going to do it, speaks directly to where my career is and realizing that people are not always going to hand you things, especially in this business. Like everyone talks about it, but you have to do it. So working with what you have to produce what you want is like something that I look back on my father and my grandfather and all that they went through, and my mother to get the things that I think, the directions I want my career to go. So flash forward to, I don't know, probably 1940s or so. My father, who was a jazz musician, was a big time West Coast jazz, played all the clubs in Southern California and played in the, Army band. Met my mom, who happens to be white. And at this time, it was difficult for, a black man and a white woman to date, much less to get married. But they found a pastor who would do it, and they got married.
At least it was in California.
At least it was in California, right.
Yeah.
And so they got married. It was not, very, it wasn't easy by any means. The Watts riots and where they were living really was like the line between where whites lived and blacks lived was getting very, it was evident.
Yeah.
So,
but can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said he was a jazz musician.
Mm-hmm.
In that community, was it also problematic, or was that community more accepting?
Much more accepting.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was not uncommon for, white musicians, jazz musicians, to play at black clubs, right? That was, they felt welcome. They felt like the other musicians were on par, and everyone was like just there for the music.
So at least they had like some little enclave.
A community,
that
for sure.
They were accepted, and even if it wasn't the neighborhood or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Wow.
So my mom, many years later, didn't have a college degree, started a business. She became a payroll entrepreneur. And, in 1976, a woman, like there was no Me Too movement, right? There was no HR department. And she started a payroll service all by herself. And, so now I'm growing up, and my dad is a musician, right? He's an artist. My mom is a payroll entrepreneur. She's a woman having her own business. He's black, she's white. My friends were everything in between. And like, I had no reason to think that, that this wasn't the way it should be.
Everybody's like this, right?
Because everybody's like this.
Because you grow up and just normal is normal.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And
If only.
right. So when I hit about 16 years old, I met a pretty instrumental man in my filmmaking development. And probably a couple years prior, for a school assignment, the assignment was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I picked director.
You're like a freshman in high school? Or
No, this is
sophomore?
probably freshman in high school.
Yeah.
And there used to be a bookstore called Op Amp Technical Bookstore in Hollywood.
Okay.
And it was like the smell of old books is exactly, you go in there and like only tech nerds and big brain people go in there for books. So I told my dad, hey, I need to get a book on directing. So he went and he brought me home a small green book, and it was called Directing. It had 0 pictures and 0 diagrams in it. So then a few years later, I met this man, a guy named Fritz Good. And Fritz had a production company called Masai Films. And Masai Films was on the 4th floor of what used to be the Max Factor building in Hollywood. Like the window, his office window looked at the Chinese theater. Like if there's an epitome for, I need a Hollywood office, that's where it would be. So I met Fritz at my mom's office, and he said, well, if you ever get any downtime and you want to be a PA, come by the office sometime. And
Was he a producer? Or
yeah,
what?
he was a producer, filmmaker.
Okay, gotcha.
He had this production company.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so his business partners were Joe Wilcott's, who I want to say was possibly the first black member of the ASC. I don't know for sure. And an actress named Denise Nichols. who was one of the stars of a show called Room 222, like 10,000 years ago.
I remember Room 222 existed. When it was
Yes.
on, I was definitely not interested in it because it was like a 10 o'clock drama show.
Right, it's for older
Your parents
people.
watched.
Right. So those three people, all black, ran this production company. And again, this is another instance of, hey, you want to be in the biz, right? Like, this is where you're coming from, and now you meet this guy who's got a production company. He looks like you do, so like, what's the problem? There's no problem because
Again, there must be tons of people like this, right? That's what you're thinking as a kid? Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So I met, shortly after I started there, and I would work after school for, a couple hours.
You mean just like you were an office PA or whatever, like doing whatever? Yeah.
I was an office PA during the week, and then he would do a lot of industrials and training videos, and like we did a series of videos with Norm Nixon where he wanted to teach kids how to play basketball. And so when we'd go out on the shoots, I would do everything, right? Sometimes I would hold the Niagara, sometimes I would, go get lunch, whatever it took.
That's great.
And so at that time, I also met Johnny Simmons, who was another all right, he was a little more from Chicago, let me tell you how it really is kind of guy, but definitely gave me a perspective on what it meant to have dark skin and work in this business, right?
Johnny Simmons was a DP?
Yeah, still is.
Yeah, he still is. Okay.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know him. I've heard his name a lot, but I don't know him.
So if you were black and it was the early to mid 80s, even late 80s, and you came to LA and you needed someone to connect with, it was Fritz at Maasai, who then at some point you would meet Johnny, right?
Wow.
And so, doing all this really low budget stuff and answering phones and getting donuts and setting up cameras. And Fritz started to introduce me as, oh, this is Eric. He's going to be a cinematographer someday. And I couldn't spell cinematographer. I didn't know what a cinematographer was.
That's so great.
But I was on board with it, right?
And you also had the directing book, so it's probably like, well, no, I thought I was supposed to be a director because I have the book.
The book, right. So put the book aside. Now I'm going to be a cinematographer because Fritz says that's what it is. And my dad was also a really talented black and white photographer. We had an enlarger and a dark room at home. And so I was always into cameras and framing, and in high school I got a Betamax camcorder,
nice.
Which getting back to what my grandfather and his brother did, we wanted to make a movie, and we wanted the camera to just be on the feet. So we had a wagon and some kind of a screw went through a board, and I guess we can screw the camera on it. I didn't know anything about 1/4-20 threads, or maybe it was a 3/8, right? And I didn't know anything about stabilizing things.
This is your first hard mount.
Yeah. So I had a dolly and a wagon. I made a hood mount for my 66 Mustang, right? That thankfully didn't fall off when I turned a corner. But this is what I saw in other movies, and I guess this is how you can do it because, you were ignorant, and that was great because you just got what you needed.
I love that. That's fantastic. The first thing I ever shot before I was in film school or anything was this Super 8. I had a Super 8 camera, and we shot a quote-unquote music video for ZZ Top's Sharp Dressed Man, which was the dumbest thing on the face of the earth. But I remember my buddy Matt had a Jeep, and we put the camera on the footwell that you would step into the Jeep. It was outside of it,
right.
And we're pointing at the wheel, and I didn't know how to put it on there, so he just drove down the street as fast as I could run, and I held it, and then we sped it up, and I remember thinking, this is going to be unbelievable, and of course when we saw it, we were like, it's really boring,
Yeah.
but still it was the same kind of thing. You just did whatever you could think of, right?
Sure.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, that's when you learn, what do I have and how can I use what I have to get what I want? And the flip side of that, as I'm sure you and I have both worked on projects where people don't want to use what they have, right? It's this is what I want, but you don't have the elements to get it. So how are you going to do it? So I get through high school, and I was in the AV club, and I'll back up a little bit, which was I wasn't always the cool guy that I am now, right? So
I find that absolutely
I
hard
know.
to believe. I just want to let everybody know that Eric is wearing a T-shirt that says "Drink water, love cats, fight racism," and I told him I have a problem with one of those, and we'll talk later about it.
Right.
But you are exceptionally cool.
So when I was in middle school, elementary school, my brother was in middle school, and they were doing a production of West Side Story, right? And this is kind of like when your hormones are starting to like knock on the door a little bit. And on stage, I see like these kind of cool kids, right? And guys dancing with girls and like they're hugging and stuff. Like, look at that. Like, that's their job to be on
They're
stage.
allowed to do
They're
that.
allowed to do that.
They're told to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I get into middle school, when I was, a senior in middle school, I get in the theater program, and Barry Bialik was the drama coach, right? Whose daughter would later become Mayim Bialik, right?
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
And so fast forward to high school. So I'm in the theater program in high school. I'm 6'3"-ish, horrible basketball player. But when I get into high school, hey, you're tall. Hey, why don't you come try out for the basketball team?
6'4", same thing. And I'm like, you want me to do that until I try to make a shot, and then we'll talk.
Right. And that's exactly what happened.
And
Like,
everybody assumes that you're good, right?
you're good. And like, not only are you not, I was okay, but everyone else was so much better. And people who were shorter than me were like aggressively like, if I had your height, these are the things I would do. So I got out of basketball, joined the AV department, was also in the theater department, had a Betamax camcorder. Like, this is a recipe for like a really successful high school career.
Yeah. No, I see this coming.
Right.
This is great.
And the AV club president was like, hey, if you are in the AV club, you can get out of class, you can go set up projectors, you can wheel the television with the VHS deck from room to room, you can thread the movies it's totally like you don't have to go to class.
It's legit.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll sign me up. Oh, but there's one other thing, which is like, I'm going to need you to be here an hour before school some days because, sometimes the stuff's got to be ready. And I was like, you know what? Let me know when you need help and I'll try to jump in, but there's no way I'm going to get here even earlier. But with my Betamax camcorder, like, I was the only one in the school who had one. And like, I would shoot assemblies. Jesse Jackson came to our school, and I got to interview him, and just all this goofy stuff from the 80s. And I got to say, the theater program was fantastic. I met some of my best friends that I have now still. And
were you behind the scenes or were you up on
no,
stage?
I was on stage.
You were acting.
Yes.
I did not know that. It doesn't surprise me, but I didn't. That's great.
So
Please tell me there's some Betamax footage of some of these plays.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I was the
talk to you
Tin
about that
Man.
afterwards.
We did a gender reversed version of Hamlet called Hamlet 2, and I was Gertrude.
Hamlet 2.
Yes.
Yes.
So good, right?
Yeah. Well, I like the idea that Shakespeare wrote it, and you guys. Where is this? Where is this high school?
Fairfax High.
At Fairfax High. The kids at Fairfax High finally got it right.
That's finally did it right.
Yep.
That's what you needed. So as I'm kind of approaching the end of high school, maybe even my first year at LA City College, I get the opportunity to do some extra work, right? As an on-camera, person, extra. So through my mom's company, they had a division that did casting. So, all right, what the heck? And at the time, there was something called the Screen Extras Guild. And if you were a featured extra, you got residuals.
Really?
So, yes. So do you
No
remember Max Headroom?
Sure.
Okay. So this was Max Headroom for President. And this footage does exist where we were shooting at the Queen Mary. And we're all, 20 or 30 people in this room, and they're slowly pulling groups of people out, right? You go, you're going to do this. You're going to be holding a dumb sign. You're going to throw confetti, whatever. And it's down to me and another guy. And the other guy says, well, it's just the two of us. I think they got something special for you. And I just thought, all right, whatever. I'm, really more curious about when lunch is going to be and what time we're going to go home. So this AD comes in and goes, hey, come here. You know anything about video cameras? It's like, yeah, actually, I happen to own a Sony Betamax, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't care. You know how to hold one of these things? Sure. So I got this fake, like huge Ikegami-style shoulder camera, and your job is going to be in the crowd. You're just going to be video, you're doing video coverage of this. It's like a political rally. Okay, great. And I got a, 3-second featured close-up of me, my badass mustache that I used to have.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Not an afro, but like nothing to sneeze at.
Well, and also, again, we're on a podcast, but Eric has a shaved head, so the idea of you even having hair is just... So just got to take a quick break here. Anybody who's listening to the podcast, at some point, make sure to go to the podcast section of theop.io, because there will be links to every single thing I can find here. This is great.
Well, that footage is easy to find. I later... there was the Michael Jackson Pepsi commercial where his hair caught on fire.
So this is Michael Jackson when he was huge Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Pepsi commercial, that was a big deal.
That was a big
one.
one.
Were you there when his hair caught on fire?
Yes and no. I wasn't in the shrine when it happened, but I was wherever they were keeping kids at the time, which was like in a basement or something.
Gotcha. Because I remember vaguely there was something about like dancing downstairs, and there were a lot of kids around. I mean, there were always kids around him. Which,
yeah.
But did you actually like work with him?
No, not at that time. Okay. I was like, one of, 200 kids or something.
2,000 years.
But I got to stay out of school and get paid, right?
And say you were involved in a Michael Jackson.
That's right.
That's cool.
Then, much later, during the Smooth Criminal music video, there's a shot where, and this is a little bit foreshadowing of my future camera career, but there was a shot where the POV of Michael Jackson's car jumps over a bunch of cops in these kind of stormtrooper outfits, and the camera was mounted on a some kind of a crane arm, right? And it goes cutting super close to the bubble lights and the first pass, it nicked the lights and the
lights on top of the police car. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But I'm in full, like these stormtrooper outfits with a helmet, so I could be any one of any of these guys. So you just have to take my word for it.
Sure. I buy that. I'm in there too, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
Right.
That's so cool, though.
So I did that, and I did a lot of. There was a campaign called Rock Against Drugs, and I shot a lot of stills for that, and I'm actually in a couple of those spots.
That's great. That must have been a lot of fun.
It was, and it was like, this is all before like my first year of city college, before like high school, city college, and like, look at all the people you're meeting and the things you're doing.
Yeah.
Like everything was like falling into place. Like, what's the problem, right?
And when you were on these sets, were you checking out the technicians? I mean, were you interested in that, or were you thinking, no, I'm going to be an actor and
No, like I never wanted to be like. After high school was like, clearly the things I was gravitating towards were taking stills and, getting hired to shoot like low budget, low quality video projects.
Okay.
I was still working at Maasai Films. I was doing more and more like 3/4 inch editing, shooting, sound. Like, so the further I got out of high school, the more it was like the technical stuff was what I was gravitating towards.
Gotcha.
I went to film school at a school that's now closed called Brooks Institute of Photography.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
Was it in Hollywood?
It was in Santa Barbara.
It's in Santa Barbara. I just remember ads for it or something. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're a photographer, a serious photographer, you would either go there or Art Center in Pasadena. And since I was told I'm going to be a cinematographer, I had no direction out of City College. Someone heard about this school called Brooks and like, hey, you should go check it out. So I go up there. And their main campus was in Montecito, and it was an old, beautiful mansion that overlooked the ocean. Like, yeah, I could do this. That's, it would be great. So I went to Brooks, and I was in their film program, and it was great, right? I met my now wife, and it was almost 30 years ago.
So that was worth it.
We've been married, yeah. So
she was in the same program?
she was a portrait major.
But she was a photographer.
Also a photographer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So went to Brooks, graduated on a Friday. I came back to LA on a Monday. I worked a lot of PA days on music videos, on whatever I could.
This is what?
91.
Early 90s? Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Then I had a connection with someone in administration at Amblin Entertainment, right?
Steven Spielberg's company.
Yeah, a little guy named Steven, he's just cutting his teeth. And
Who was Steve? He was Steven Spielberg at that point, right? He was a big name.
Yes,
Yeah.
of
Amblin was a force by then.
Yes.
Okay.
So
this is over at Universal.
At Universal.
Yeah, okay.
So now I can say goodbye to my low budget driving the truck, getting there before sunrise and leaving after everyone else cleaning the parking lot days. And I started working in post-production. And we were just doing post on Hook, right?
Wow.
And I had zero understanding or appreciation for the golden spoon I was handed, because it was just like I got hired to do a job, and the post-production coordinator, super nice guy, and we became friends, and there was just a couple of us in this office, and I'm taking handwritten sheet music to John Williams' house, right? Having him make some notes. Okay, there you go.
But not thinking what this actually is.
Yeah. Like, I knew who he was.
Yeah. But that's your job, to bring this to him and then wait for it.
And wait for it.
Just backing up, did you know someone and that's how you got the job? Or was there just you found an ad, we need someone to work at Steven Spielberg's company?
Yeah, come on down, sign up. No, so the woman who worked in the administration department used to work for my mom years prior.
Okay.
So I started making these phone calls, and there was even a time when someone said, "Oh, call this place called Local 80, and maybe you can be a grip, and then you can start doing other
the grip local
movie things
in LA."
Right. So I was just calling whoever. So I called this woman, and I said, "Hey, I'm out of film school. I've done a couple things, and I'm just looking to be a PA. If you guys need anyone."
Did you mention that you were the stormtrooper in the Michael Jackson video, or did you leave that out?
No, I don't really like to drop names.
Okay, I did. Sorry,
right?
I didn't. I want to bring it back up.
I want to be hired for me, not for who I was on screen. That was old Eric. New Eric, right?
He's making his way. I like
that's
it.
Right.
No, that's respectable. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I go in for an interview. I talk to this guy. Okay, well, we have a temporary opening in post-production, and, while they're finishing Hook. All right, so I'm working on Hook, and, John Williams, here's the paper. Take this back to my orchestrator. He's going to do some more stuff, and then, bring it back tomorrow. So this was commuting from Universal to West LA and back. Then my big moment, and something like, I don't know, maybe later on in the podcast we can talk about when you have an opportunity and you miss an opportunity and how you kick yourself later.
Mm-hmm. Most of my life.
Yes. So my really big break came. So I hadn't seen Steven Spielberg. I knew I was at the company, and I knew that was his office over there. And it was like a compound, right? Like you had to go through security to get there.
And they had their own bungalows kind of thing. And
right.
Yeah.
And everything was like this in-house kind of vibe, right? So I had to deliver something. They were at a scoring stage called Todd A.O. in Hollywood.
Yep.
Take this down, give it to whoever. Oh, and while you're there, Steven needs some breakfast. So can you stop and get him, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So I go, and I think it was like donuts or pastries or something. So I go, I hand off the paperwork, and I open the door. Steven Spielberg is sitting there. And it was still a little shell-shocked at the time.
Yeah.
And I had him this box. I said, "Oh, hey, Steven, I'm Eric from post-production. This is your breakfast. They asked me to deliver to you." And he opens it up, and what's that? And I said, "That's just a couple different donuts and some pastries. I wanted a bear claw." There was no bear claw in the box. I wanted a bear claw. Did you get a bear claw? No, that's all I got. I can go get you one. No, it's fine. Close it and Wow.
You could have directed the sequel to Hook, probably.
I was this close.
You were that close.
Right.
If they had just had a bear claw,
Right.
I wouldn't even be able to talk to you right now.
No.
Yeah.
You'd be talking to my people who talk to my people.
Yep. So
So-
it's really all about pastry. at the
Yeah.
end. That's pretty classic. Were you just crushed when he said I wanted
I
a
was
bear claw?
fairly stunned. Like, was I supposed to get a bear claw? No one said bear claw. I'm pretty sure no one said bear claw. And I call the office assistant, like, was I supposed to get a bear claw? Because Steven said bear claw. Really? He never asked for a bear claw. Well, today he did, and I didn't have it.
And you've ruined my career.
And my career is done. Right. So this $250 a week, guess what? Say goodbye.
Yep.
So Hook finishes. There's an opening in as just sort of a general PA, right? And so I said, sure. So I stay on for another couple of years. And their program at the time was like, you're there for a few years. And when a show comes up and you're ready to be transitioned out, you go be a PA on the show, either in the production office or on set.
On one of their shows.
On one
so
of
they
their
slowly
shows.
move people up the ladder.
Right.
Obviously, if they see something
If
worth
you're not
moving
a
up the
complete
ladder.
flake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like during this time, I got to have a little bit of interaction with development. Everyone kind of knew, Eric, he wants to be a cinematographer. I met Alan Davio. I met Ken Zunder. I'm Mikhail Solomon, right? These are all people who are doing Amblin-related
Big cinematographers.
shows. Yeah. So fast forward to sort of the end of like when Jurassic Park starts to prep.
Jurassic Park was a Steven Spielberg movie, for those people who don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So the first Jurassic Park, Dean Cundy shot it. Clyde Bryan was one of the
Clyde Bryan,
focus
just
puller.
massive
right?
first assistant.
Yes.
Legend.
Steve Svetku was the loader. So I knew the loader position was kind of the entry level. So they're doing pre-production for Jurassic Park, and Steven had this lipstick camera at the time, which was a lipstick-shaped little camera that he would like to use with the production designer and other, Phil Tippett and all the people who were designing animatronic, or puppet-run dinosaurs, right, with the miniatures. So
those were miniatures, so he was using the lipstick cam to sort of get a small camera into,
Yes.
You'd probably use an iPhone now, but
Of course.
but back then,
so the perspective inside the Jeep,
Sure.
outside the Jeep, blah, blah.
Oh, wow.
So the administrator says, Eric, you know about cameras, right? Yeah, go run this thing. They want to do it in a meeting in 10 minutes for Jurassic Park. Okay, great. So I grabbed the little recorder, the lipstick camera, and I was a bystander, but I turned the thing on, I set it up, and I'm waiting, and here's like, like the highest level of filmmakers in this room, and they're playing with these toys, and one guy is making dinosaur noises, and Steven is like, and then the Jeep comes around, and it stops right here, and then it backs up, and then the dinosaur, and that was pretty awesome.
That's cool.
So shortly after Jurassic Park starts production, I get put on, they had a show called Sequest.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Sequest
DSV.
Yeah,
Yeah, Roy Scheider.
It was like they lived underwater or something
Right.
like that. Yeah.
And this was my first experience on a television show. And the pilot, Irv Kirshner directed the pilot, who also directed Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yeah.
And it was like a 25-day pilot, which by today's standards is like, does not happen.
That's a season now.
Yes. And so, these days on sets, you might have 6 PAs, 8 PAs, not uncommon. On this show, we had 1 PA, me.
Wow.
The only PA on the show, on set, 14 hours a day.
And this is really kind of your first time
Yes.
being on a big show and
Right.
all that. Wow.
So-
Talk about being thrown in the pool.
I had and I didn't even want to be an assistant director,
Yeah.
right? Like a good PA wants to be an AD someday.
Sure.
Right? Which I had no desire to do. So like it would be like, okay, this is the last shot. We're not going to make the call sheet call time for tomorrow. Eric, we need you to run up to the office, get those call sheets, and they got to be down here in 5 minutes. Because when they call wrap, if I don't have call sheets to hand out, it's a bad scenario. And we got to, Sharpie change on all of them before we hand them out. So, like, I had zero hustle factor when it came to working for a complete dickhead first AD, abusive, womanizer, so bad. And the poor second AD was like, I would see her in the corner of the stage crying because he was so mean to her at times, right?
That's the dark side of this industry that maybe it doesn't get talked about enough, because it does exist, right? There are a lot of people who just like, shouldn't have the power they have, and it's good that things have changed, because that wouldn't happen today. People wouldn't put up with it.
Yeah,
they'd be in HR. Yeah.
So this was sort of my first, sort of realization that, like, hey, wait a second, this movie business stuff is not always so nice and so fair and equitable, right?
Yeah.
And there were, like, I was probably one of 2 or 3 black faces on a show.
Oh, really?
So,
this is 93?
93? Yeah, 93,
and still
94.
It was that. I lose track of time on things, but I guess maybe that was the case, yeah.
Yeah, there was a grip who was black. There was, I could count on one hand.
Wow.
So the amount of, like, dialogue that you would overhear, like, you know what, that shit ain't appropriate, but, like, I'm a PA, so what am I supposed to do about it?
You mean amount of dialogue, meaning with racist
derogatory
overtones,
comments.
Derogatory, really?
Yes, was like, because a lot of these people who were sort of old timers at the time were starting on shows like, I don't know, The Munsters, or there was a driver who, like, I used to drive the Three Stooges around, right? So, like, the old Hollywood,
when it was acceptable to just talk openly, like
big
that,
time,
right?
yeah.
That's amazing.
Like, hearing a grip say, bring me a Gary Coleman, on a C-stand, things like that, or bring me that.
I don't remember. What was a Gary Coleman?
A Gary Coleman
was a short C-stand. Or
no, was like a short, solid,
short flag. Okay, gotcha.
18 by 24.
I vaguely remember people.
Right.
Well, that's one of the nicer ones that people used to use.
Oh, for sure.
I remember. Do you remember when you first found out what a ubangi was?
Yeah,
because a ubangi, for people who don't know, is, and I'm using it now for reasons to explain it, but it's an offset off of a dolly, which is basically just this sort of like long, what would that shape be? Oval?
Kind of an oval, like a
oval-ish,
super flat
I guess.
oval.
Flat oval. But you would put it on the dolly, and so it would sort of move the head, 3 feet out or 2 feet out or whatever. And I came into the business, you bang, and then at one point someone said, you know what that term is? And no. They said, well, that's an African tribe that used to put the things in their lips to move them out.
Stretch the lip out, yeah.
If you look at the ones that have done it forever, it has a similar shape. And so everybody stopped calling it that. And every once in a while, the funny thing is now, I run into older folks who say that. And my first thing is like, the hair on the back of my neck goes up, and then I go over and I go, dude, you can't say that. It's an offset. It's just not acceptable anymore. But it's amazing how it's interesting for me to hear you say all this, because number one, it's amazing it's amazing how much has changed in a relative short amount of time, which is good. But it's also amazing to me how clueless I was to the fact that probably a lot more of this was going on, and it didn't impact me.
Sure.
Not because I didn't care, but just because I'm trying to be an operator, I'm trying to do whatever, and I'm so busy with it. But so you were very aware of this. Yeah,
I was aware that, like, people who were closest to me, my family and friends who were either black or white, like, this kind of terminology was like you would often joke about, like, someone who was a friend of yours, but not really, like, from the outside. Like, how can you say that as a joke and you don't even know me? Like you don't have that level. We don't have that rapport yet, right?
Yeah.
So
wait. Let me just ask you a question before you go on. Did that negatively impact you when you heard these things? Like, what did that do to you?
Yeah, it did at first. Like, it made me really, like, feel like I should say something, and many years where I didn't say anything, and I would just, like, quietly step away and back away, right?
And you would, but you would then take sort of like the maybe shame isn't the right word, but you would feel badly about the fact that you didn't
That I
step
didn't
up
say
and
anything.
say something.
Yeah, like you.
But
just,
you're a PA and you're the lowest on the
right.
totem pole, and
Like, what could I do? Right?
it's weird, right? Because there's
Yeah.
that thing of it's like, well, in the structure of the film, I'm nobody,
Yeah.
but in the world, I got just as much rights as you do, but I also want to keep my job. That's,
Sure.
Man, I can't imagine like the emotional sort of stress that must cause.
Yeah.
I have no frame of reference for that.
And like as the kind of the years go on and there starts to be more of a tide shift towards, hey, let's have departments represent, what society actually
world.
looks like, or the world.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't uncommon for me to, like, all the early on assistants and, operators who, like, were super nice to me and gave me all kind of chances, like, to hear them later on say, like, I'm really looking, I can't find work because they want a woman or they want someone of color. And, it's like, and now you have to process, like, that. Like, I feel for you because, we've always been cool together, and I know you're an excellent technician and artist, but have you seen the camera departments lately?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
this has been ongoing, like, since the beginning of my career for 20 years, and in a perfect world, everybody gets a chance, and everybody
Yeah.
gets a job based on their skill level
Sure.
and their potential.
I think the initial pushback, and tell me what you think about this, there was that, I don't know years anymore, but there was that point where it's like, we're just going to get a camera department, just using camera department that looks more like the world. So we're going to get women in there, we're going to get people of color in there. But unfortunately, because it was like a white male club for the long time, and I don't know about you, but I never, from what I've learned, it wasn't as much as like, it was like, let's keep those people out. It was more just like, no, the only people who got in were like the sons of other people. And of
Right.
course, if you started with white guys, you ended with white guys. And that's kind of the way it was. I mean, I'm not saying there wasn't some of that. Of course there was. But I think at the beginning, it was a little bit like, we're just going to fix this by getting people in here. And at the beginning, unfortunately, there were people who got into some of those positions who weren't quite ready for it.
Right.
And of course, just like you and I, they were like, yeah, I'll take that opportunity. I don't care why it's coming because I'm moving up. And so I think at the beginning there was some pushback, and now I'm finding at least that there are people of color and women who have moved up the ladder and have done the work and are in there because they deserve to be in there.
Right.
But
Right.
does that mess with your mind sometimes of like, am I getting this job because I'm good, or am I getting this job because I check a box?
Yes. Like, there is no doubt that, especially when I first moved up to operating, like, like I look around and I see a cast that's either almost all African American or pretty much, and a DP who I may or may not know. Like, no one actually says, hey, we want a black operator, so can you come and like do the show, right? But it just kind of feels that way. Like, I know there are operators way better than me. Not a lot, but there's some.
Exactly.
And like, what am I doing here? Like, when I did Hunters, like, I loved.
Hunters was the Amazon show,
Yes,
right?
season 2 of
Which,
Hunters.
by the way, like known for its camera work. I mean,
For sure.
Or I don't know if it's known, but it should be. Having seen it, it's
Yes.
like the camera work is insane in that
Right.
show.
So John Lindley, who I've known for years, and
Great cinematographer.
one of the cameramen who, like, I was an assistant. I met him on season 2 of Snowfall.
Which is where I met you, I
Right.
think. I don't know if I knew you before.
You didn't.
that.
I knew
Yeah.
your name, but I didn't know what you looked like.
Okay.
And I remember the day you came to put your stuff on the camera truck because
And
you were
thought
starting.
I was be much better looking than I was.
I thought you'd be.
No, wait. I was better looking than you thought I would be. That's what it is.
No,
right?
you had it right.
Damn it.
Yeah. So we were over by LA City College. I remember
Oh, yeah.
the shot we were doing, the lens I was on. You came and I was like, who is this guy talking to all the camera people? He's putting
Because
his.
I knew a ton of people there.
Yeah, of course. So I met John Lindley on that as an assistant, and then shortly after that, I did one other show as an assistant, and then I bumped up to operating full-time, and I finished that show as an operator. And so John really gave me the opportunity. Like, he put my name in the hat for Hunters, and it may have been because, like, hey, we don't want an all-white camera department, and, like, you're at least can sit there, be quiet, and do your job.
Yeah.
So that was a show with John Lindley, Will Rexer, and Terry Siegel.
Will Rexer's the other cinematographer, great guy.
Right. So
Terry Siegel was who?
one of the cinematographers.
Oh,
so
I didn't know there were three. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Wow. So John, I already knew. He said, hey, are you interested? I'll put your name in the hat. Yeah. Okay. So Will is on the East Coast. He'll probably call you. Terry called me. I think she was in maybe Chicago at the time. So I just phone interviewed, and, I looked up the show, and, like, Al Pacino's on this show. Like, there's people better than me that, clearly have a better resume. And I was on a show, and I had I got this show, right? I had a show lined up, like maybe 2 weeks off. Like, this is great.
Ron Baldwin was the A-camera
yes.
Steadicam operator that year?
Right.
Yeah, great guy. Great
yeah.
operator.
So this was a big budget show, period piece, great cinematographers, an opportunity to really, like, Will is such a, like, his only requirement was, like, if you got an idea for a shot, and if it's got to be a cool shot, you set it up, it's a cool shot, you can do it. And so it was a little bit of a free-for-all. Like, I could always find something to get. And one of the things I learned really early on, like, Todd Dos Reis is a cinematographer who I met as he doesn't remember this, but he was a focus puller on a show, and I came in as a day player. I think we were both day players, and I was his second. And this is another thing where I remember the location we were at, the shot you were doing. I was your second, like, very specifically.
Yeah.
So Todd was also a DP who I assisted for and then operated on a number of shows for.
Did you do Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
I did Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Okay, yeah,
I bumped up on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah.
We did Rebel together. I did probably 2/3 or half of a show called Council of Dads with Todd. And, like, my ability to sort of survive and, navigate this industry, I think has always been like, I'm going to look at other people's fuck ups, and I'm not going to do that. Right.
Everybody who's listening, who's trying to get into this business,
yes.
Listen to what he just said.
Right.
Because that is 90% of how you learn?
Easily.
Yeah.
Keep your mouth shut. You don't always have to be the loudest guy on set, because that's not your job. Your job is to keep your mouth shut, look at other people's fuck ups, and don't do that. Because when you do the opposite and you have a department head who is still thinking their wheels are turning about what someone else did that got them fired, and you don't do that, you're going to hear someone say, you got good instincts. I'm so glad, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, it's just what I do, right? But really, it's because you keep your mouth shut and you watch other people's fuck ups.
And by the way, while you're saying that, you're going, I wonder if you can see the sweat on my forehead.
On my bald forehead.
But I one of the people that I learned a lot under was Chris Chulak, who was the showrunner on ER. Mm-hmm. And I was like a kid when I got on ER, so I was just, like, sucking in as much information as I could from everybody. And he said to me at one point, he said, listen, you will learn more by watching people fail than you ever will by watching people succeed. Because when people succeed, first of all, sometimes it's very quietly. There's nothing to see. Like, you don't really even notice it. And then sometimes you see something unbelievable and you can take some notes from that. But it's very, very rare. Mm-hmm. But you see people screw up constantly.
All the time. And people who get paid good money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so, you just go, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. Or if I do that, I'm going to do it that way. So I don't get, but there's so, if nothing else, people should recognize that, because it's when I learned that, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Such a big part of the equation.
Then I'd be like, I'm running next to the guy as he's driving off the lot going, why did you get fired? What did you do? I need to know.
Hang on, slow down, come back. There's a great line in Training Day where Denzel Washington says, keep your mouth shut and your ears open and you'll learn a lot. Like, when your mouth is shut and your ears are open and you see someone else screwing up and you remember to not do that, then you're gonna be okay. Early on, I was a loader. There was a show called Baywatch, and the loader on that show, the camera truck was parked on Santa Monica Pier, and we were shooting probably on the beach 1 or 2 lifeguard stations away. And this guy, he told me, Eric, when you go from the set to the camera truck, always be running. Like, everyone should see you hustling all the time. That's the only way you're going to make it.
So funny, because that's the opposite of what everybody tells you, right?
Like, so Randy told me, Eric, when someone's running around on set, it's because they've probably screwed something up.
Yeah.
So cut to, there was a movie called Seven, right?
Yeah.
And
David Emmerichs was the operator on that.
Brad Edmiston was one of the assistants, and Johnny Walker was one of the assistants.
Yeah.
I think Johnny Walker may have been the key assistant.
Okay.
So the same loader was on that show. So I came in, right, day player, right, extra cameras, Atom 35 millimeter mags, notoriously horrible to load.
Really hard to load.
Right.
Yeah.
And Johnny Walker told me, like, if you can load these, you'll be fine. If you screw it up, we'll find out in dailies the next day, and we probably can't have you come back. So everything was fine. So the loader called in sick. Eric, can you come in? Oh, of course. I come in. Doesn't check in the next day. There was very few cell phones, maybe a pager at the time.
Yeah.
And so because I was covering him, I didn't know who the loader even was. I was just coming in, filling in the thing. So 3 days of him not showing up, and then Johnny says, do you want to just finish the show? I have no idea what's going on with this guy. Oh, of course, no problem. Next day I come in, I'm in the dark room, and I hear a bang, 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 bang. Like, hang on, someone's in here. I'm like in the middle of a mag. So I'll get the mag closed and taped up, and I open the door. So now I'm seeing the same guy from Baywatch who told me to run all the time.
Wow, who came back going, why did you take my job?
Right.
Oh
so
my
he's
gosh.
there, and he's late for work, and finally showed up on day 4, and he said, what are you doing here? And I said, what are you doing here? You better go talk to Johnny. Click, close the door, and I log it. And I just hear this cacophony outside the dark room of like, oh, no, you never get your stuff. And I think it was Brad Edmiston said, get your stuff and get off the truck.
Wow.
And like, it was a little chicken shit of me, but after it was like totally died down, I kind of stuck my head out like, whoa.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So be careful when people give you advice. Always think of what is the source and what's their motivation.
Yeah.
I assisted on 24 for a handful of seasons, and Rodney Charters, who was another...
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Rodney
Yes,
Charters.
Yeah. Great guy, great eye, loves the technology. When something new comes up that helps him do his job better, he fully embraces it. And, I watched him excuse my French, but like an operator pointed a camera in a certain direction, and Rodney said, what the fuck are you doing? Don't fucking point your fucking camera over there. I'm not fucking lit over there. What's wrong with you? So when I was working with Todd, he also is zero filter on how he's feeling and how he thinks the shots are going. And when you're the cinematographer, you're processing what the producers want you to do, what the director, who sometimes has zero clue, wants you to do, and what your crew is capable of, and outputting a result that's like on par with your work quality or even better. So learning from cinematographers, like when you're on the B camera, I've heard through this podcast, there are certain operators who feel like there is a big distinction in A versus B.
It goes both ways.
It goes both ways. And I've heard people say nope, it's just a way to distinguish who's doing which shots. So I, as a B camera focus puller, especially on Snowfall, really embraced, we're not going to get any marks. You're going to wing it, and some of it's going to be great, and some of it's not going to be great. But there's going to be enough pieces to where the editors will come down, or the director, when they're cutting their episode, will come back and appreciate those little pieces that you got for them.
And it's worth saying that at least when I was working with you, you were with Patrick Rousseau.
Yes.
Who was the B camera operator, who was just so great. I had Jess Lackoff here, who was the A camera first.
Right.
She was firsting with me. And we used to joke about the fact that, I'd spend 45 minutes setting up this unbelievable shot, and I was like, this is now the greatest shot ever created in the history of mankind. People were going to sing my name in the streets.
For years.
And I go, hey, Patrick, what you'd have? And you go, I just got this small thing over here, and I'd look at it, and I go, God, that's so much better than anything I've ever thought of. So at least you were always doing interesting stuff.
Interesting things.
You guys killed it.
Yeah, and you would hear from Video Village, like, as the shot, right, you're going through the scene, and the director calls cut, and the director would say, Patrick, that was fucking great.
Exactly. And then you just hear me quietly sobbing in the corner.
Right, yeah.
But no, there's no question about it. I mean,
Right.
I have to say, and I've brought it up before on this podcast, that show, Patrick on B camera, is some of the best use of B camera I've ever seen. Just like he was so great at going, well, if I'm underneath the faucet in the sink, when he walks by, I'll grab this moment. And it's like, oh, God, that's so perfect.
One of the worst things is when you're do a shot, the take is wasted, you have to do it again, and you know what the actor needs to do to make the shot successful.
Yep.
If the director doesn't give the actor the note on what to do, then I feel like if I don't say it, we're going to do this again. So you really have to tread lightly when it comes to giving an actor a note, because if the director specifically wants something and what you tell the actor conflicts with that, and then the actor says, well, Eric said I should do it this way, then all eyes are on you, and you end up, feeling like a schmuck. I was on, as an assistant on Wrinkle in Time on one of the last sort of multiple second units they had, and the operator, who was a day player operator, or someone had to leave and they bumped up and whatever, and I was focus puller, and the director, Ava DuVernay, was sort of offset. It was a huge green screen thing, and proximity was not possible for her to be close. So every time Mindy Kaling's character would turn around, Oprah Winfrey would be blocked. And we were on a long lens, so like it was a simple thing of all you got to do is turn around and lean on your left to clear her. So I had this hoodie from a show called Black Jesus that I was wearing, and so we did take one, she was blocked. We did take two, she was blocked. Ava would come out and say, I don't know what's going on, but every time you're blocked. And the operator, who I was really glad it wasn't me at the time, didn't have the know really what the protocol was and how to like get it right. So we just kept going in. So Oprah looks over to me and she said, Black Jesus, what's the problem? And it's like, oh, damn, now she's asking me for notes. So now not only am I, doing what the director should be doing, but the operator, who I had no idea who it was. Yeah. And I said, well, I looked at him and he had his hands in his pocket and his head down.
That's a tough situation to be in.
And I said, well, maybe if Mindy leans on her left a little bit, and if you lean on your right a little bit, you'll clear because you're just really too stacked up. Yeah. And she said, well, why didn't anyone say that? I said, well, there's a lot going on, and people have...
Because the industry is based on fear.
Yeah, the industry is horrible, and we all should have made better decisions and stayed in school and become dentists.
But it's a tough one because you don't want to be too much in the mix, and at the same time you want to be an asset and move things forward.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I've been in situations like that before where something hasn't been said, so I'll just go up to the director and go, I just want to make sure, do you want them clear here? Because I can clear them, but it seems like you haven't tried to... And they'll say, no, I'm specifically doing that because I want to force the cut or something, whatever.
Right.
It's like, okay, great. Then I didn't say anything for that reason,
Yeah.
And then the other weird thing that happens is then you get hip actors who will come up and go, can you see me there?
Yeah, for sure.
And then... you don't want to sell the director out and go, well, no, he doesn't want to see.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know what the answer to that is actually.
There's no one right answer.
Yeah.
Like I really like it when the director trusts the operators, and if a shot is not working for the B camera but is for the A camera, to have a director yell out, "Eric, fix it," right? Then it's like, then you have, the opportunity
Carte blanche,
to like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
come a little this way, that's way. But I always check with the other operator. Like, I don't want to set up a shot that's going to be good for me, but bone them.
Of course.
But then I've also had DPs who will tell the A operator, "Don't be so greedy. Let B camera get some of the coverage." So it's really like both operators have to work together, and you have some operators who have a bigger ego than others, and like, I'm going to shoot this like a true single camera show. And
You mean the A camera operator when you're B
yes,
camera? Yeah.
right.
Yep.
And you'll have you might get an insert later, but this
Yeah.
is really a one camera show.
Yeah.
So you kind of really can feel out what's the vibe of the show. Like, does the other operator have a chip on their shoulder? Did they want someone else? Right? Like, at the end of the day, there's always someone who knows someone else, and you might not be everybody's first choice, but you're there right now. And, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, which was when you speak up and when you don't speak up, right? Like,
100%.
usually, if it gets really vocal on set, like, I'm committed to this being my last day, right? And if this is how it's going to go down, it's going to go down, and everybody's going to see it. But more often than not, like, I've been in situations where for whatever reason, either the A operator or the B operator or the B dolly grip or the A dolly grip has an issue with the way I'm doing, you name it. And, let's get through this shot, right? Let's make it as good as we can. And then I'm a big fan of, can I talk to you for a second? Like, come over here for a second. And a lot of times, like, being quiet and being subtle about it is more intimidating than throwing a fit in front of everybody.
So when you say come over here for a second, what do you say? I'm the A camera operator that you're calling over. What do you say?
So if you're the A camera operator and I'm so aggravated and frustrated that I can't do what the DP wants me to do.
Because I'm basically blocking you out, or I'm not
Yes.
working with you, and you're like, can we just move this desk 2
Right.
inches? And I'm like, no, that desk has to be there.
Right.
And you
Can
know
you
that's not the case.
spin your chassis so I can
Yeah.
get in close? Nope, sorry, can't do it.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan of, like, Dave, can I talk to you for a second? Look, I know we both got a hard job to do, and for whatever reason, I feel like you feel like my shots are not as valid or as important as your shots. And it shouldn't become a thing where someone has to tattletale on someone else, but you and I need to figure out how to make this work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. If it doesn't work for me, it's going to get extremely difficult. And, like, the truth is we got to be together like 12, 14 hours a day. And we don't have to like each other, but we got to, create a result that leads to both of us coming back the next day. And if your reaction is like, I'm the A operator, I don't give a shit about the B camera operator, and I would really prefer you sitting on the truck than being here taking up real estate. If it gets to that level, then like, okay, maybe I need to say something to the DP. Maybe I need to say, like, I love working on the show, but it's really not working out. And, I've thankfully, knock on wood, in my career have yet to be fired off of a show. But I always have this, like, going out in a blaze of glory, plan that, I thankfully haven't had to use. But most people, unless they're really sociopaths, have the ability to, like, you know what, you're right. Like, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Like, can you go maybe at a little longer lens and come in a little closer, or let me talk to my dolly grip and see if we can do this, right? Like,
yeah. And what I'll add to that usually works for me is I will, and this has nothing to do with operating. This just has to do with psychology. Is I'll give them an out. Mm-hmm. Hey, first of all, I feel like I'm in your way.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in your way. But they're giving me shots to do, and we're not going to make our day. Like, maybe I'm misunderstanding you, and whatever. And 9 times out of 10, what I find is if I give them that out, where it's like I'm screwing up, not you. They'll usually take it and be like, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize that was happening. Oh, I'm so sorry." And it's basically like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But it's like the warning shot of like, this one I'm giving you, and the next
Sure.
one I'm going to basically stand up in the middle of the set and go, this guy's screwing. No, I wouldn't do that. But
Yeah.
but I think, and in talking to the director of photography, something worth mentioning, because I've done this before, where I'll just go, look, there's a situation that's going on here that I just don't think is working, and I'm not able to do the job you're hiring me to do.
Right.
So I think maybe we're better off getting someone else in here who can, and again, sort of putting it on myself and going, look, I just am not giving you the work.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as opposed to going, I won't put up with this, or, hell with you, or whatever.
Yeah.
And most DPs will kind of already know what's going on, I
For
think.
sure.
Somewhat.
Yeah, and I don't think finger pointing and like that never, like when the words come out of your mouth, you never get them back.
That's true.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like toothpaste. Once you squeeze it out, you cannot put it back in the tube.
Yep, I've tried. It does not go well.
Just doesn't work. It's messy.
No.
But let's see. This is next year will be my 30th year as a member of Local 600.
And how many years operating?
Full time, probably 5.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and then there was a handful of years where I was kind of going back and forth, and then it got to a point where I got the phone call from Local 600 saying,
Hey, buddy.
"Yeah, hey buddy, it's time to
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know, you can work out a category for 30 days, I think.
Yeah, 30 days.
A year,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you don't, if you're an assistant, you work as an operator for not 31 days, but 50 days, they'll probably find out about it and call you,
Yeah.
and they'll go, look, you got to either like reclassify or you
stop
got to
doing
stay
it.
an assistant. So what was that like for you to go? Because you were like very well. You were, first of all, you were a great assistant, but you were also a very well known assistant. Like
Yeah.
people knew you and knew when you call Eric Dyson, you get good work and he's easy to work with and all that. And then suddenly you go from being like, hey, I'm super comfortable and I don't even need to get marks anymore, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah, to like, oh God, what was that like?
Yeah. So what do they call it when you're
Abject fear.
that, but also when you're impersonating
Imposter syndrome.
Yes, imposter syndrome, big time. There were so many. It's when you're on a show and the director of photography supports you, like, yeah, you do B camera, yeah, it's cool, we got you, and like you're just screwing up left and right, but everything is all right. Like it's a safe environment.
And the assistants are like going, no, we want
Yeah.
Eric to make it. And hey, Eric, you got to take the lock off the wheels
yeah,
before you turn it.
before you do that, right? This is how you make it go
You're
up or
pointing
down.
the wrong way, Eric.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like supportive environment. And then you go out and people who don't know you as an operator, and then it's like, and I had this conversation with myself a lot, like, if I was a focus puller, like I could be chilling over there on that seat with my monitor.
Basically, like, what have I done?
Yeah.
Why did I do
Why
this?
am I doing
Yeah,
this? I'm
yeah.
making less money because I'm not working as often. I am not as comfortable doing the job.
Yeah.
And, basically every day I go home and like, I don't leave anything on the truck because if I get tapped on the shoulder at rep, then you're not coming back tomorrow to get your stuff.
The slink back to get your stuff after
It's
you've been
horrible.
fired is tough.
Yeah.
Like I'll be like, well, I guess I should go get my Steadicam, but I don't really need it. Maybe I'll just leave it.
Maybe this is it for
I don't
me.
want to go back there.
Yeah.
But so why did you move? Was it just were you bored? You needed a challenge, or
No, I mean, I've worked with enough people over the years that were super burnt out, whether they were firsts or seconds or operators who oh, I fucking hate this shit. Oh, it's a grind. Oh, it's not like it used to be. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, oh yeah, you sound miserable. Like that totally doesn't make sense while you're here every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Like you make any of those categories, if you work enough, you make a healthy living and you can do okay.
it's golden handcuffs? You know?
Exactly,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I always felt like I stayed in each category a little longer because it was comfortable. And kind of when I got to that point, like I really started to make, want to change, to move up to the next category. So, yeah, so I was a focus puller for, I don't know, probably 10 years, maybe 12 years. And at that point, it's like, I could do this the rest of my life, or I can be an operator and I can really start to, like, if I really think I want to direct someday, operating is like I know with a good operator's eye, I can give the director shots that they will use, and an editor shots that they will use to condense all of this screen time where nothing is really happening. And once I got over the fear factor of, hi, I'm an operator now, not an assistant who wants to be an operator, and I felt like my voice and my shot selections were valid, and I stopped sort of listening to all of the sort of inner demons that, like, you know, don't just wait for someone to say, this is what I want you to do. Start pre-planning it and start auditioning shots that, even if it's not what they think they want, if you set it up in a way that they're like, oh yeah, that's cool, go ahead and do that. Like, you know, you can really start to pave a way for yourself to not just be like, oh, it's the B camera operator. He's probably on the truck. He's, you know, kind of tuned out. Like, I always like to read the scripts. I always like to talk with the cinematographer about, like, you know, if there's like a visual style that they want to like keep in place, right? Like, I want to be not overly enthusiastic, but aware of what all the important beats are in the episode, in the scene, if there's a Bible that they've put together. I worked a little bit on the tail end of Winning Time in their last season. Oh. And we were like, I don't know, 8 cameras, 10 cameras.
On the basketball games.
Yeah, for all the coverage for the Lakers versus Celtics playoffs.
And what I've heard about that show, it's just shoot cool stuff. I mean, there's some things that are specific, but the rest is just give us cool stuff.
Right. Give us cool stuff. Know when to shoot the green screen and when not. But that show, when I later look at it, was like, wow, as far as like a completely different style of kind of documentary mixed with narrative filmmaking. Was like all those little things I kind of put in my toolbox. So when I'm shooting something or if I'm directing something, like, I'm going to pull from this and I'm going to pull from that. One of the things that Spielberg did early on, like before he was who he was, like, he would know shots he wanted to emulate and like totally just rip them off. And he might have a pickup truck instead of, you know, a Chapman crane, but like, just make it work with what you have. So that keeps on repeating in my head.
Gotcha.
Right? Like, what do you want? Visually, what's the story you're trying to tell? And what are the tools you have that you can use to tell the story?
When you made the jump from your first day or your first week or whatever operating, and I know it happened slowly, but, you know, when you really were this is it, what were some of the hardest hurdles you had to overcome?
Definitely like set etiquette as far as like what's in your frame, right? And what's in your frame that you need to tell the A camera, can it move back a little bit or can it come in a little bit? And also the key grip and the gaffer, what you need. Because if they say, okay, set, and all right, bring in first team, and like, my good friend John Lindley, who was always like, you know, so supportive and a nice guy, like, when you see the other side of someone who's super nice and super fantastic because you didn't do your job 100%, that's when you realize, all right, I won't make that mistake again.
Yeah, John is a wonderful person, but he also expects you to do your job.
Yes.
And he is also the type of person who, I'm going to guess, you know, will go, yeah, we'll totally support you to move up.
Yeah.
And we'll give you a couple of breaks, but you're not going to get a lot.
Not a lot.
You've got to be ready to do this, and you've got to do the job, which is fair. Right?
For sure, yeah.
You know,
so knowing like when to speak up about, like, you know, that's totally in your shot. Like, you need to get a good shot. You can't just pan left or pan right.
Yeah.
Right? So being proactive enough to, first of all, remember the key grip and the gaffer's names so you can, you know, speak to them directly. To make sure that, you know, when the 8 camera operator says, all right, we're set, like, you better be set too.
Gotcha.
That was a hurdle. You know, prepping the first assistant for, like, we're going to do this, but we might also do that.
Only because you weren't sure.
We're not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, the dog is going to come in, and the dog is supposed to sit and bark. But if it doesn't, I don't want to waste an opportunity to get something a little bit different.
Gotcha. But I'm saying your problem with that was more you just weren't sure what to tell them you might do.
Right. Or to tell them, like,
or to tell them at all.
Yeah. Like, you know, you're so sphinctered up, like, not even knowing what you're going to be prepared for, and like, because most focus pullers are not right at the camera right
Anymore,
now.
Yeah. That's so funny because coming from where you were, that obviously is something you would expect from an operator. But the weird thing is, and I've seen this many, many times, it's like you jump up to the next level and you completely forget the last level.
Yes.
Like, people look at it, like I've had operators who have jumped up to DP and I'll work with them. And you turn him and be like, "Did you ever operate?" He's like, "Yeah, I operated for 45 years." It's just like, well, then how can you be this stupid? Like, you know what I have to do here. But it is amazing because you get so overwhelmed with your new job that you forget about all that stuff.
Yeah. So when I work with a focus puller who's like, "Settle down, buddy. I got you. Here's what's going to happen."
That's a good thing.
Right. It's so fantastic. Like, then you kind of...
Which is what you would have done probably, right? Yeah.
Probably
I'm
so.
sure you did.
I mean, I more... If I could be on the lens next to the dolly, like, from my cold, dead hands, that's where I wanted to be a focus puller. So when you have a focus puller who's like, either they've been doing it a long time or they're committed to it for their career, and they tell you, like, because they're seeing it from a totally different perspective.
Absolutely.
Right? And a lot of times they've worked with assistants who've become operators so many times and like can kind of talk you off the ledge a little bit. It really kind of lets your guard down a little bit and you super appreciate it. And like when you're first starting out as an operator and you have a first assistant who wants you to succeed and wants you as a team to get really great stuff, that's like money in the bank.
Yeah, and I think the part of that though is you have to be able to tamp your own ego down to
For
go,
sure.
Okay, the discussion that we're having now tells me that you recognize that I am not as good as I want to be,
right?
And that I need help, and I'm okay with that.
For sure.
Because I think what it is you want to go, no, I know how to do everything, and I know how to do this job well, and whatever, because you do. But I think that's an unbelievably important part of, and I still have it, by the way, with new technology especially,
Big
where
time.
I'll go, I don't know how this works. Like, you know how this? Okay, tell me how this works.
Right. Like, how many remote heads are there?
Oh,
right.
God.
And how, like, the methodology for speeding up or slowing down the pan and the tilt and dampening the starts and the stops.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Eric, why don't you hop on the crane and do the remote shot? All right, good. So I'll stand at the console for, like, getting the sweat off my palms because you got to know which way to turn the little wheel things, right?
Yep.
The more you think about it, the worse it is.
It's unbelievable. And after 30 years, it's still the same thing. It
right.
Never changes.
And like, all right, so I'll kind of give it a little bit of a thing and I'll look at the thing. Is the camera moving? Okay, it's not moving. Fuck. Which is okay. And either the head tech comes over or the first AC comes over and like, dude, how do I just make the thing work?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can
the
you
green
just make
light.
this turn that way?
Yeah.
No, but it's absolutely right. And the thing is, if your ego gets in the way, you'll go, oh, well, maybe if I turn this button, I don't want anybody to know or whatever. Whereas I'll just go up and I'll be like, how do I make this go faster? Because it's like, it has to happen quickly. I'm like, which knob is it?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just doing an Apple commercial the other day and I showed up, I was filling in for someone. So, the crew was all together and it was, it was one of these heads that I haven't used in a long time.
Of course.
And things are in front of me and the first shot up, I needed to be able to pan a little faster, and I would look for 2 seconds, and I was like, where's our head tech? Can you just make this go fast? Yeah, okay, turn this up. Beep, beep. And then, of course, I know, and it's fine.
Right.
But I think you have to have the mentality of going, I don't have to have all the answers. I just got to be able to get the shot.
So there was a time, like, when a Panaflex was, like, completely foreign to me. Like, I didn't know
Panaflex is a 35 millimeter Panavision camera. Yeah.
I didn't know what an IRC was. I didn't know what an LRB was. Yeah. I didn't know what any of that.
I don't know what any of that is, by the way.
Yes.
Yep.
So there was a time when I was a loader and I thought, all right, I can load mags, put the film in the thing and keep it from getting exposed and then take it out and safely put it in a can. But I will never be able to know all these parts and pieces. And then as an assistant, like, realizing I could be blindfolded, and if all the parts are in the room, I can build a Panaflex, I can pull the movement, I could probably thread the camera, close the door, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that you might not know it right now, but you're going to bite off a little bit at a time, and you're going to get more comfortable. Coming to that understanding with all the technology, I think is like pretty key. And the technology keeps changing, right? Like
at this point, the technology absolutely does. And I think also part of that is recognizing you're gonna screw up, and everybody screws up.
For
I
sure.
mean, I've been doing this a long time. I screw up all the time. The key is to not let it destroy you.
Yeah.
And also to hopefully not let anybody know.
Yeah.
And what
yeah.
happens is over time, hopefully you screw up less, but you never stop screwing up.
Sure.
But what you do is you get very I just said do. You get very good at hiding the screw up.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, did you just knock the wheels in the middle of that?" "No, I was throwing a little emotion in there. Did you not like that?" "I don't have to do that."
I don't have to do that. Totally
I
optional.
made an executive decision there. Maybe that was the wrong. Okay, yeah, absolutely. But you basically get better at bullshitting is what it comes down to.
You do.
right?
And my go-to when I was a focus puller was like, the thing about being a focus puller, when you screw it up, like, because there's monitors, everybody knows, right?
And after the thing, "Eric, was that out of focus?" It's like, oh, I think there's some people in Crafty who didn't hear you.
They didn't hear you, in the production office.
Yeah.
But like, hey, the actor was thinking an out-of-focus thought, or what's in focus is as important as what's out of focus.
Did you want him in focus as well? Okay, we
Yeah.
can do that. That's
Like,
not a problem. Yeah.
You really got to call out the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And, like an actor can sit there and like fumble a take for like 5 minutes, and it's cute. It's so funny, right? It's like, oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, you burped in the middle of the scene. Oh,
Yeah.
we'll go again. No problem.
Yeah.
Right. But you chop a little head on a stand-up, or you buzz a nose or an eye, then it's like World War III breaks
Well,
out.
and that's the irony, right? Is the actor only needs to nail it once because
Yeah.
we're expected to nail it every single
time.
And it's always amazing to me where people are like, "I don't understand. You've only done this Steadicam shot 22 times. Why was take 23 bad?" And it's
Yeah.
just like, I think it's in the question. If you back up a little bit, you'll understand why.
It's in there.
So it's that's interesting. Now, what do you do when you show up on a set and you're the B operator?
Mm-hmm.
You've got a dolly grip who's usually someone maybe learning, but maybe
Sure.
the B dolly grip, but usually not a person who's an A dolly grip because they would have moved on generally.
Right.
And what do you do to judge how good they are, what they know, what you can count on them for? Because that's a little bit of a dance, right?
It is. And I had the unfortunate, like, I've had great dolly grips with me on B camera that were so good that they get transferred over to A camera.
That's why I say they're usually not on the B. 'Cause
Yes.
When
So-
they're that good, they go to A.
Yeah, oftentimes it's a day player or someone who's sort of transitioning, whatever. So, like, we did this shot in a gym where the horizon line was these high windows, right? So it's like a 40-foot dolly move, bringing some, characters into the gym. And the DP is looking at the top of my frame relative to the bottom of the window. So it's easy to see when it's doing that.
When it's moving
Yes.
side to
When
side
it's
or
going
off
side to side.
level or something. Yeah.
And I mean, and I can feel it. I'm getting motion sick because on the dolly, like, I can feel the track like, roar.
Basically because the track hadn't
not
been
level.
put down level.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So
what'd you do?
So the dolly grip, the first thing out of his mouth when I met him was, "Oh, it's so good to meet you. Yeah, I do a lot of really cool shows, and like, I really like laying a lot of track and doing these really cool moves, and like, I really hope I get a chance to." Okay, well, this shot is just A, B, and C. Da, da, da. So we do take one. The DP says, "That was terrible. Eric, you got to keep that horizon line even."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, all right, so I said, "Hey, let's rehearse one more time." So we go through it, and I'm like trying to compensate, like, that's not right. I shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to compensate.
Shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
So
That tells you that the track's off level.
yes.
Yeah.
So I pull the dolly grip aside, and I said, see how your track is like doing this and doing that. And he wasn't getting a ton of support from the rest of the dolly, the grip
Yeah.
department, and that was part of the problem. Like, the A camera dolly grip was off doing his thing, and the key grip was like, this is not my guy in the first place. So I said, get some help, get some wedges, and let's try to, because this is not going to work.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like at lunch, the key grip says, "Hey, what do you think of so-and-so?" And I said, "Well, he definitely has his challenges, but who doesn't?" And he says, "Yeah, you got anybody else you want to bring in? I'm going to cut him loose." And I said, "No, not really. Like, now I don't want my guy to come in and be, right?"
It's a tough situation.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah.
And you hope that if they're going to get fired, it's after wrap and preferably on a Friday. But it was during lunch and in the middle of the week.
Oof.
So after lunch, the Dolly Grip says, "Hey, Eric, I just got canned, so today's going to be my last day. Was there something going wrong with, like, our relationship?" And I said, there's a lot of moving parts in setting up a shot.
Yeah.
And, it was just, they were going for something different. Like, I didn't want to tell them you were a crappy Dolly Grip because you had a lot of talk and little experience.
Which is weird because it's kind of what he needs to hear, but there's that part of you that's like, I don't think this is my job.
It's not my job.
Yeah.
It's the Key Grip's job.
It's a really tough place to be. Yeah.
So I said, obviously there were shots that we didn't get because, we were in a time crunch and it took too long to set the track and they don't want to wait for it and blah, blah. I said, "No, I get it. I'm just bummed out that I really couldn't show you, what I'm really capable of." So,
It's an interesting, after you told that story, it's an interesting thing to say because it's just like you should be capable of doing very simple shots well.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and then doing complicated shots well if you want to,
Yeah.
because you got to do it all. And at the end of the day, I always say this is I'd rather them be happy and me be unhappy than me be unhappy and me be happy and them be unhappy because at the end of the day you're doing their work. So
of course
it comes out after you.
Yeah.
And how about when you're a director and you're working with operators?
So as of now, I've done 4 really good shorts that I'm proud of, that they've all won awards. People always comment on how, the cinematography is so good. Like, what's your background? Oh, okay, well then that makes sense. And now I, have recently just done this feature. So most of the camera people know, I have a camera background. And so, we can always approach every shot with a little more of like, how they're used to, to shooting a scene and composing and things like that. And a lot of times on shorts, like, you have assistants who want to be operators. So I have more experience as an assistant, as an operator, and now I'm the director. So a lot of times I'll, have as much patience and grace as I can because they're either low budget or freebie. And when people are coming out and they're doing things at that level and you're trying to get work that's at a higher level, like, I want a Steadicam operator who's going to be like, "Oh, we did that cool shot. It was tough and we really did it."
Yeah.
And the reason it worked is because, I'm trying to keep things in mind, like what's their skill level and what's going to make me look good and also make them look good.
Trying to push them, but not asking for something they can't deliver.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if they're not getting paid or they're getting paid in a Subway sandwich and they don't end up with stuff for their reel, then it's a waste of their time.
Yeah.
So, the communicating with operators and, like, if I see something that's okay, but this would be way better. Like, I just did this thing a couple weeks ago and it started off very pedestrian as far as these 4 guys at a table and, like, this is boring. Like, the dialogue is interesting and the acting is also good.
This is something you were directing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like, this is a standard, over. Like, we don't, like, let's do something. So, and it was a matter of, like, drop the camera. Okay, lower. Okay, lower still. Like, let's feel the underside of that table. And that's, like, very much a Patrick Russo thing that from Snowfall, like, I'm going to do that when I have a chance. And it really changed the dynamic of the perspective of the shot. And the operator was like, "Oh, that's so cool. I'm so glad you set that up." Even, like, let's cover the scene on an 11-to-1 all the way in from 40 feet away with a lot of foreground elements so that you get a voyeuristic type of thing. So those are the things, like having a camera background, when people look at it, like, I don't know what makes your shot so cool, but, like, I really liked watching your movie because I really felt like da-da-da-da-da. It's like, there's a difference between a close-up on a 50 millimeter and a close-up on a 250 millimeter. And most of the public has no clue why it's different, but, we know why it's different.
Well, and they may have no idea why it's different, but it evokes a feeling or an emotion. It's part of the telling of the story, right?
Sure,
so
sure.
when you have that vocabulary.
Yeah.
And is there a lot of that stuff that that snuck into you while you were assisting that you didn't realize, and now you look back and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I knew that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like, directors who know the terminology, and sometimes as an assistant, you're like, you know what? I don't give a shit. Just put the lens on. Let's just shoot it so we can all go home and play Pokemon or whatever.
It happens.
But realizing, when you have actors who are, separated by geography and wanting to keep the cameras also separated, like those are the things that I really like when I have an opportunity to direct something, and I look at the set, I look at our camera package, I look at the lighting package, and I think about what can really make this, look visually a little different.
Yeah.
Like that's when I think, like, assuming the actors know what they're doing, right? Like they can kind of be a little bit on autopilot, and I can shift into like, what are the visual elements that will make the audience, feel something that supports the narrative.
Yeah. So you take all that with you. That's
great.
great.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think the difference between a good camera operator and a great camera operator is?
The difference between a good camera operator and a great camera operator. A great camera operator knows who to collaborate with on the set, and there's so many voices coming at you. A great camera operator will listen and can filter out what's not going to support. Like, you got to know the difference between people who really know what they're doing and people who are sort of posturing, and how you can use all those things to make your shot, whether it's A camera, B camera, or C camera, as great as it can be, right? Like, you really got to know the most efficient way to navigate being on set. Oftentimes the DP is at the DIT, and, a great camera operator can really set the tone for the noise level, the amount of like just crap that comes flying in at the last minute, right? Like, you really got to know if the DP is lit and my frame is great, okay, now it's everyone else. Like, you got to know when everyone's turn is as well as yours, because it's not always your turn to be like, all right, everybody, clear the set. I got to set this up with the second team, and I got to, make sure my set dresser puts the vase in the foreground. Like, you got to know when it's your turn. And operator, assistant, set dresser, craft service, like, everybody has a turn. And one of the great things about having a fully staffed show is, like, when visitors come to set, like, a lot of the commentary is like, that's cool, but like, why are there so many people standing around? Like, so many people are standing around because when it's someone else's turn and you back up, they come in and they do their deal and they get out.
It's like the pit crew.
Exactly.
Although
right.
nowadays, I don't know. I mean, it's just reality is like, I'm going, I think we should go with the 22 millimeter right here. And they're like already lighting the set, and, they're painting in the background. It's like there's 45 people in there doing
things. It's a free for all.
Yeah, because nobody's given any time anymore, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah. There have been operators I've worked with over the years who are so good at the technical side of things. Barnaby Shapiro is a fantastic Steadicam operator, and who also now shoots a little bit. His DP, John Aronson, has gone on to direct a handful of episodes, and when that happens, Barnaby bumps up and shoots. And he always had the ability to, like, forget what the first AD, what the tone they're setting, because the tone we need to set to make sure that camera, grip, electric, props, wardrobe, all these departments get to do their deal. Like, I feel like if it doesn't start at the camera, like, it's not going to happen anywhere else. I mean, you can have a first AD who's like, all they're good at is really yelling a lot.
Been there.
Right? Yeah. And then sometimes you have, I worked with a cameraman, David Tattersall, super soft-spoken. And like everyone else, their level, because you want to hear what he's saying, because he's a talented person and very smart. And if everyone is just yammering away, you can't hear. So, like, being able to, and this is, doesn't matter what classification you're in, but being able to read the room and, sometimes it's okay to flip the water bottle and see if it lands right side up. And sometimes, you got to see what everyone else is doing, right? To know when it's okay and when it's not okay.
Yeah. And actually, the weird thing is, especially being on A camera, but B camera sometimes too, and I think people take terms as, I try to tell people this is sometimes you're the cruise director, because people are looking to you, and it's if things are just going haywire and you just sort of crack a joke or make some stupid, I'm good with dad jokes and stuff like that. Something just really groaner. It can kind of break that moment.
For sure.
And the other thing I think it does is people will go, oh, well, he seems like he's not that concerned. Maybe this isn't as bad as maybe we're okay,
Right.
And sometimes it's complete BS because you're screwed, but you're
Big
just
time.
We got to bring everybody back up again,
Yeah.
Or when you're in the 14th hour, sadly, or whatever, sometimes you got to be the one who goes hey, come on, let's go get this or whatever. And it's tough. And it's a weird job, but it's interesting to me that when you talked about great versus good camera operators, nothing had to do with operating.
Yeah, I mean, that's because I assume,
Sure.
you know how to frame a shot, you know how to do a stand-up, you know how to do the technical ends of things.
Yep.
But there's so much that happens before that frame is perfectly set,
There's no question.
right?
I tell people, they're like, what? I'm going to college. Should I go to film school? I'm like, no, get a psychology degree.
Oh, for sure.
Film school, you can learn that stuff online.
Right.
But you want to learn how to be able to look at someone and
Deal with
immediately go,
people.
okay, I know what type of person you are. I know how to talk to you. I know how to get you to do what I need quickly,
Right.
and not let you think that I'm getting you to do what I need.
For
or whatever.
sure.
It's all that weird stuff.
Yeah.
What about working with the first AD? How do you work with the first AD as a B camera operator? What's your interaction?
A lot of times the first AD feels like the B camera is there to help them make their day, right? Their A camera is going to do a medium and B camera is going to do a close-up, and that just means we don't have to do another take, right? So I don't feel like I have a ton of interaction unless it's something background related, right? Tell your team to make sure we have, background who's paying attention, things like that. Sometimes if you have a first AD who's a screamer and is not really helping with the whole vibe of the set, and if I feel like the A camera is setting the shot, dealing with all these different elements, if I feel like there needs to be a conversation from camera operators, oftentimes I'm totally happy to go to the first AD and try to navigate it's really difficult for us to set shots when you're standing in front of the lens and you're screaming at everybody, right? I don't know why ADs do that, but an AD who will come in and say, so guys, how's it going? How we doing in here?
Yeah.
Where have you been for 20 minutes? Because we've been trying to light and you have a breakfast burrito in your hand. But that goes back to the psychology thing, right? Sometimes, they're just clueless and they don't know, who they should really get on their side to make the set run as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. I mean, the good ADs that I work with know that the more they're collaborating with everybody, the easier their jobs are. And there are those ADs who are screamers and whatever. There was an AD that I worked with on a show in a place. That's what I'll say right now.
That person?
In this business, in my career, who had a tendency to stand in doorways.
Yeah.
And anybody who's ever been on a set knows you do not stand in. By the way, anybody who's trying to get in the film industry, do not stand in doorways. Do you know why? Because people have to come and go through doorways.
Yeah.
That's what doorways do. They're entrances and exits. So he would stand in a doorway, and I'd go, get out of the doorway. And at one point, he came up to me. At one point, I remember we were in this teeny apartment. I said, get out of the doorway. I was just, because we're in a teeny apartment. And every time I try to lean down to look in the camera, someone else is going, I got to get by you. So I got to stand up. And, there's rats running around and just whatever. I mean, it's just everything. And I was like, get out of the doorway. And so, oh, sorry. And he goes and he stands, and now I've said he's a he, or she, goes and stands in another doorway. And I happened to catch it with my eye. And I said, get out of the other doorway. And if you can't be in this room, get out of the room.
Yeah.
And I was just really, and at lunch, this person came up and said, I really think you were rude to me in there. And I said, I was absolutely rude to you in there. And I said, and I apologize for being rude because nobody ever likes to be rude. I said, but first of all, I was at my wit's end because I'm doing everything I can to push ahead and make your day, by the way. And you're doing what you always do, which is standing in doorways. He's like, well, I have things to do. And it's like, but not from the doorway.
Right.
And I said, there's nothing personal in it. I'm sorry about it, but you have to learn that you can't be standing and impeding people's progress, and you have to be more aware of what's going on around you. And thankfully, he took it. I probably didn't even deliver it that nicely, but he took it to heart as something that was something that he needed to learn.
Right.
Or she. They.
Right.
But it was, and afterwards, it's like I actually felt badly because I don't want to speak rudely to anybody.
Sure.
But at a certain point, especially when the AD is saying, we got to go, and you're going, well, we can't go because of you.
Yeah.
You just get a little to the end of your rope. And it's like, there is a little bit of look, either help me push the train faster, stand on the side, or lay down on the tracks and it's going to run over you. But one of those three things is happening, right? And hopefully it's the first. If not, it'd be the second. But if it's the third, there's only so much we can do.
It's rough.
So, it's a tough thing. But and a lot of times, they'll look at you as the operator and go, why are we not ready? And it's just like, well, because of this and because of that.
The problem?
Because of that. A camera's ready, but there's all these other things you got to do.
Or you'll be setting the DP has, set the last light, and you're trying to get one clean look at the stand-ins, or, first team comes to the set and they've been in hair and makeup for whatever, and there's a thing called last looks, right? Which is, okay, now hair, makeup, costumes come in.
At the last minute.
Right.
Actors, by the way, last looks, actors are in the room generally. And they're in front of the camera, so you're basically ready to go. And, it's like it can be really aggravating when it's not time for that, and they are standing on the mark, and then here comes someone in front of the camera to do their last look. And, you really hate to be the person to say, so-and-so, step aside. Oh, I'm just trying to do my job. I know, but it's not your turn yet, right? Yeah, and unfortunately, probably someone has told them it's their turn. That's the bigger problem. It's like, okay, we both have things we have to do that are absolutely important.
Yeah.
But we can't do yours without mine and mine without yours, so, let's move forward.
And that's, a lot of times that's a really good thing for the first day, for you to pull the first AD aside and say, this is an ongoing problem. They can do last looks, but I got to get a look at them so that the DP can see them on the monitor, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have ADs who are really good at telling them to hold off, and then sometimes they're not.
Sometimes they're not, but it's a good point. Is I'll usually pull them aside and go, look, we have a situation that's not working. This is what keeps on happening, and what I'll always do is I'll always go, and it's costing us time.
Sure,
those are very good words to say to an AD. It's costing us time, and I think it would be more efficient if, and generally 9 times out of 10, if they're aware, you know what, I'll be more on top of this. I apologize. They're getting told by so and so. I will make sure. And even if that's the case, if they will say that and it doesn't happen, I'll just go up and I won't, but I'll go, hey, so it's not happening. How do we make it happen? What can I do to help you make this happen? Because they've also got 700 things to think about, where we've only got 400 things or whatever.
Right.
So it goes all over the place. I want to ask you a question about. I know you're a religious person. Mm-hmm. How do you work in this industry as someone who is a religious person?
Yeah. How in the world can you call yourself a practicing Methodist and shoot a scene in a strip club?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that have sort of kept my sanity, because I've known people who are married, divorced, alcoholics, overdose, blah, blah, you name it, right?
It takes its toll on people.
It takes its toll. Yep. There's no way you can be gone from home if you're single or in a relationship for 12 to 14 or 15 hours and not have it take a toll on you. So thankfully, my wife and I have been married almost 30 years now, and she has from we went to school together, and I was a PA, and I was making no money, which, like this year, I'm making no money because there's a
Because of
strike, right?
yeah.
But she's always been so supportive, and early on when our kids were small and I was working, a television series, right? Like, she stayed home with the kids. I never missed a birthday. I never missed a Halloween, because those are the things with little kids that they remember and are super important, right? So, kind of getting back to your question, like, I don't look at someone's spirituality as completely separate from how they interact with people in a work environment, right? Like, you may not feel comfortable. Like, there's a lot of sarcastic people on movie sets, right? Like, we're all jaded.
No.
Like, yes, right? Like, you mean to tell me someone who was 100 years old gave birth to, I don't know, 50 children, and then their wife was 200 years old? Like, all right, like, making films, we take things out of context all the time to tell a story, right? So if I feel like I can relate to a person, regardless of if they're Catholic, if they're Jewish, if they're whatever, and somehow our relationship, gets a little stronger, right? Person to person, and they'll say, "Oh, do you? Are you what are you, Christian? Are you Buddhist? What's going on with you?" Like, yeah, you know what? I'm happy to say that, I've taught Sunday school for over 20 years. I've been going to the same church for 20 years, and feeling like what I'm doing right now is not as important as the big picture. And the big picture is, like, whether you believe there's one God or many gods, like, I don't think our job as humans on this planet are just to be here, suck up oxygen, and eat donuts,
And
right?
buy stuff.
And buy stuff. Yeah, I feel like there is a creator, because everything works so perfectly, right? You get up, you go outside, you see a beautiful sunrise, you take a deep breath, and you feel better. That's not by accident, right? And I don't think that a creator would create this for us to not support each other, to enjoy what is on the planet. And part of what's on the planet is entertainment, and it's on a television, it's in a movie theater, it's on your phone. So that's a little bit of like, I don't really get into specifics of what I believe as a Methodist. I'm happy to, but I feel like that's just the category I fall into, right? Like, I may be a 6'3" black man, but that's not all I am, right? It doesn't mean that I play basketball. It doesn't mean that, that I'm good at dancing. It doesn't mean all these things that you might stereotypically think, right? It's like there's a bigger picture to everything, including what you are as a religious or spiritual person, what you are as a filmmaker and a storyteller. And you really only get to that point when you're doing like we are and just having a conversation. Does that answer your question?
That totally. I mean, there wasn't a right answer to that.
Yeah.
I just was wondering, because you don't. I would imagine that actually I probably meet more people who are religious than I recognize.
Sure.
But they're not. You don't always get close to people the way that I've gotten close to you over the years and realize it. So
Right.
and so it's just, I don't know why, but for some reason, finding people who are devoutly religious, if that's the right word,
Yeah.
in this industry is more sort of makes me go, as opposed to like, I don't know, Baskin Robbins.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Well, the thing about it is, like, when you survive being in this business, and I guess maybe it's true for any industry, but when you get to a certain point and you have a certain demeanor about yourself that people can appreciate, like to be around, like to work with, and then they find out, and you go to church, 3 or 4 Sundays a month, right? It's like, that also kind of paints a picture of who you are. Like I don't necessarily, like, I cannot name every book of the Bible, right? I'm not that well read, but like, you got to have a strong support system. And people you meet that come and go on television and movie sets are not always the strongest support system. But over time, if you develop enough relationships and like, you know, you can talk to someone at lunch and like, you know, they may be going through things with their kids or their family or whatever. And, you know, you might have an opportunity to fall back on some of the spiritual side of things, right? Like maybe they just need you to listen to them, right? You don't need to be their therapist, but when you're in the middle of trying to hurry up and make the day and everyone's rush, then who cares what your feelings are and what's going on with you at home and how your kids, you know, just OD'd and you can't be there because, right? Someone will steal your job. Like that's when, you know, you really need an opportunity to connect with someone and, you know, having some kind of grounding that, you know, no matter what, this is who I am and where I'm from, I think.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, it does actually, I'm saying this right after this, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with this, but the thing that I remember most about Snowfall was that Jess, who was the first AC, was breastfeeding at the time. And I didn't really know that was the case when I first, like the moment I came in. I found it out pretty quickly. But she would have to leave set, like what? 3-4 times a day to go pump or whatever. And you and Megan and who was my second AC on that? Oh, it's terrible.
Yes.
I can't.
I can see his face, but I can't remember his name.
I should find out.
Beep, boop, bop, boop, beep.
Anyway, but you and Megan and everybody on the camera crew just sort of like swooshed in and said, you know, and you'd come help set the A camera shot and whatever. And I remember I was sort of like, what's going on? You're like, oh yeah, she's breastfeeding. I'm like, oh, okay. But it was great. It just obviously that was who you are and who everybody on the camera team was like, no, this is just something that has to happen and we just have to do something a little differently, but we're all going to be professional and get it done. And it was just like, I mean, I would say that most directors who came in probably didn't even know it was happening.
Didn't even notice.
It was, and that's a testament to all of you, you know, just on a personality level, which I was just sort of floored by, which maybe I shouldn't be floored by, but it was a wonderful thing to see because it just, to me, that sort of goes, these are people who have their priorities in the right place.
For sure.
They're still proud of the work and they still want to do everything really well, but they're like, there's something more important.
Yeah, and it used to be, it was not uncommon for like, once you started a show, like you can't take any days off, you can't do this, you can't, right? And a lot of people's family lives suffered for that. And, you know, I was on a show and my father was very ill at the time. And I told the DP starting it, like, there's a very good chance that I'm going to get a call and I'm just going to leave. Here's who you call. And that was totally fine. Like, you come back when you're ready, But, you know, like when my kids were small and like, my mentor as a focus puller was a guy named Randy Shanofsky, right?
I know Randy Shanofsky.
Love him or hate him, he and I got along fantastic.
Randy Shanofsky's the guy who does that weird thing where he finds out where movies were made and then he goes and takes the exact same picture.
Right.
The scene,
So I was on a show with him when my kids were born and were super young, and that was like a thing I established. Like if Halloween was on a weekday, I would either take the day off or leave early and have someone come in and I would just pay them out of my pocket. Or if it was a birthday or something like that, right? Like, I think it's always okay to remind everybody, like, this is our job, but this is my life, right? And if I don't have this, then I'm not going to be able to do this.
Yeah, the thing I'd say to anybody who's starting out in this business, who has a family, is thinking of having a family or whatever, and I think you'd probably agree, is I will always remember my kids' birthday parties. I get them a little confused at this point, but I'll remember them generally. I could not tell you what we shot that week on whatever show it was. Because it's not important. And in the end, the bigger thing, like you said, is my kids know that I was at their birthday parties, and they don't care, you know, like that I did a big oneer that day. That's pointless to them. Well, this has been really great. There's so much good stuff here. I'm going to leave you with the question that I leave everybody with, which is someone getting in the business, someone moving up to camera operator. Eric Dyson beginning versus Eric Dyson now, maybe something you wish you had known? What's your guidance for success?
Well, the industry has changed so much in the last 30 years and will continue to change and evolve and get better or worse. I would say, like, I wish someone would have told me when I was, a humble film loader, like, whatever it is you think your trajectory should be, don't ever wait for someone to, like, you're not standing in line getting to the front to place your order, right? You want opportunities, start creating them like right now. If you want to shoot, whether it's your iPhone or you have an old, camera from a rental house that they're not using, whatever you want to do, like start figuring out right now what it's going to take to start building your reel and your resume, and don't wait for anyone to give you a chance, because that's not how this industry works. It's unfair. People who are the highest paid on the set are sometimes the most ignorant of what it takes to even do their job. So when you're a technician and you want to keep pursuing that, like you want to be a focus puller, then you tell the first AC, let me do the rehearsal, right? Let me Try to be your own, you be the voice for moving yourself forward. Because if you wait, like I have zero regrets for my career. And I have done a lot of great shows, and I've done a lot of, whatever, forget about them kind of shows. But I definitely wish I would have been more proactive with, like, when I move up. And, I think the best operators and DPs are the ones who have done the other categories for some amount of time, because then you know what you're asking other people. But that's not doesn't always have to be the case. You could be a loader, you want to shoot, you can get yourself a DSLR and you can make pretty pictures. So what are you waiting for?
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.